This is I Have No Title and I Must Podcast movie reviews, where we review new movies as well as give our take on old ones. We are your hosts, Tyler
and Chris.
And today we're going to be reviewing the Venture Brothers movie, Radiant is the Blood and the Baboon Heart. This movie kind of picks up where season 7 leaves off with Hank's journey to kind of find himself and his mother. Meanwhile, Doc Venture has created a new item to put himself back on the map that has gone way over budget and is now being exploited by a new villain on the scene. And so the OSI and the Guild of Calamitous Intent are secretly teaming up to find out who this new villain is to put a stop to it. Now, I have to say, this movie is kind of bittersweet for me because on one hand, it does answer some questions that were left off, but this also marks the end of everything, and they did not get to do the full season 8 like they had wanted to.
So this was a truncated finale, and they had to squeeze everything that they would have done and leave out a lot, because this is what happens a lot of times. You lose your funding, and the season gets canceled, and they're like, counter offer, do it in 3 episodes.
Yeah, that was just kind of canceled out of nowhere. I think negotiations at the time with HBO, where they had Max and all that going, allowed them to do a movie. So I think they said the stuff with Hank should have been like a season-long thing. And there's like one other spot in the movie. They said that it would have also been further explored, but it had to get reduced down to like 2 sentences.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then they said everything else was kind of fresh for the movie itself.
So I'm not caught up with Venture Brothers, and I'm a huge fan. Life and other interests have taken me other places, so I've not had time to get completely caught up. Every time I try, something happens, and I get distracted into other things. I can't binge shows like other people do. I try, and I will at some point finish this and get to this. So I am really interested in this. So it was season 7. So they did 7 full seasons, and then there would have been 8, and then it's this instead. So who are the main characters in this still, for if anybody's debating on watching this? What are some selling points?
Well, I mean, the selling points, obviously, if you've followed it this far, or even like a casual fan, a lot of questions do get answered. I'm not going to go into what those are to keep it spoiler free, but if it has to be the end, I think most of the questions you would have had answered are answered. But again, bittersweet because it is the end, and knowing what it was supposed to have been is still like, man, could have had a little bit more.
Yeah, it reminds me of Clone Wars when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, and now they just ended all projects. So the Clone Wars season, I can't remember, whatever it was, 5 or 6?
I think it was after 5. I think Netflix picked it up to finish out 6. Then I think Disney eventually did a 7.
Yeah, which was really the rest of Ahsoka's story. It just kind of became the Ahsoka show, which I'm fine with. I'm not saying that to criticize it, but that's what they did. And then the final, it was like a 4-part finale, what took place inside of episode 3. So we got that back. This feels like, I don't know, maybe if they waited, maybe if we had to wait for it, we would have gotten that, because, like Young Justice got to come back, and they did more of it, though I have not finished that. Clone Wars, they did not what they would have done. So how long is it? How long is the Venture Brothers movie?
I think they said it's around like 83 minutes, roughly. So it's feature length.
Yeah, so about 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So what were their typical seasons? 12 episodes?
Yeah, I think with the newer seasons being more around 10.
Okay. That's yeah.
I think some of the earlier seasons were around 15. Then they got to where they're around like 10. Yeah. Well, I will say with this movie, they did kind of leave it up in the air. Like I said, a lot of the questions that were kind of hanging do get answered. So if they can't come back to it, we have some semblance of closure. But they didn't give everything a wrap up. So if they can come back for another movie, or if they can come back for another season, that avenue is there.
Did it feel intentional that they've left doors open that not everything is completely wrapped?
I think possibly they didn't leave like any like cliffhangers like, oh man, I wonder if they would come back to that. Like specifically, it wasn't like that. Like, oh yeah, well, we're planning on doing another movie. It's more like, here's the questions everyone's been asking, here's the answers, but there's still that, okay, those questions are answered, but where do we go from here?
Yeah.
That can still be explored.
I was always, after Futurama got canceled and they had their direct-to-DVD movie releases, I was always excited for that. But I don't feel like Venture Brothers ever got the mainstream exposure that Futurama got. I mean, Futurama was on one of the big four, and Venture Brothers was relegated to late-night Adult Swim.
Yeah.
And not bad. I mean, that's not a bad audience to have. I'm just saying it's not the same as network TV, ABC, Fox, NBC. And if you're over 70 and you're actually listening to this, I'll go ahead and mention CBS. But I imagine they could come back every few years with a direct-to-DVD release. Is this streaming on something?
No, if you want to see this, you will have to rent it or buy it.
Oh.
I think...
I saw the DVD at Walmart.
Yeah, I would imagine eventually it will come to Max for streaming since it is a Warner Brothers product. But as for now, that's the only way to see it.
All right. We're not sponsored by Max or Walmart. Or anything. Come on, guys.
But go ahead and close this out. I will say, if you've not watched Venture Brothers, then definitely skip this movie because you're going to have no idea what the hell's going on.
But should they go back and watch all of Venture Brothers to watch this movie?
Oh, yeah, I would recommend that anybody just go watch Venture Brothers. It is my absolute favorite show.
Really? Your absolute favorite?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. When I say I haven't finished it, I feel bad about that because I love this show when it first came out.
It is the only, well, I won't say only. I have a few others, but it is one of the few TV shows that I actually have the full physical collection of. And like the only other ones are like shorter than the Venture Brothers would be. But definitely, if you're even a casual fan, watch the movie. All your questions will be answered. I think you'll have fun with it. If you're not caught up, I would definitely do that first since this kind of picks up 3 days after season 7 ends.
Interesting. So with all that, and now knowing that Venture Brothers is your absolute favorite show, how would you rank the movie? Just as an entity by itself, as an end to the show.
By itself, I don't know that I'd rank it very high, just because you would have to watch the other stuff to put it in context.
Now, what if you're only talking to hardcore fans of the show, just like you?
For only watching fans, or only talking to the fans here, which I assume at this point
if they're completely caught up and haven't watched the movie yet.
It is a must watch. Okay. Unless you just want to be set and wonder like the big questions of like who their mom is, and all the other cliffhanger things from like season 7.
All right.
So, yeah, I kind of lumped this movie in as one of the seasons. So, movie by itself, okay. Movie as a season, as a whole, definite must watch for any Venture Brothers fan. And again, if you're not a fan, don't watch it, at least without going back and watching the other seasons first. But if you're even a casual fan and you've not seen this yet, I'd say get caught up, find a physical copy, and go get it. And I will say, if you do find a physical copy, it also comes with a poster, so have fun with that. And I think we'll wrap that up here. So if you've made it with us this far, thank you. Be sure to check out our social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, see you.